Let me get the pictures for the interior for a minute.
I think the colors. Sorry. Yeah, I know, but the color just makes it difficult because.
About dusty rocks.
Yeah. But see, even when it comes around, it suddenly looks like the 60s T-bird a little bit.
Building on the comment that was just made, we've been sitting here discussing the retro look of the 94 versus 64 Mustang and the popular poster that's all around the engineering of the reflection of one over the other.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's kind of what this panel is alluding to, if I put it in more words, is something along the line, could we make a reflection of one over the other and have the cues stand out like that Mustang poster does?
Okay, good. Someone want to talk about the interior? Someone want to start out for us?
Yeah, how about round gauges for the instruments, analog gauges? But I mean, the Thunderbird had the round pods. Everything was round. And Ty, the silver accent trim that goes across is nicely done, but is there some way to have that spun aluminum like we currently have, and maybe a little more contoured as it rolls from the dash into the leading edge of the door?
Okay, what do you think of the photos there?
You're close, but you're closer on the car than you are on the interior. I mean, I'm looking at my Mustang when I look at this picture. I mean, my current Mustang is virtually this car.
Ted?
Yeah, I want to talk about the interior too. The Thunderbird interiors are fabulous. When you open the door and you look inside and you sit behind the steering wheel of the Thunderbirds, they're really fabulous. The fabulous shapes and designs and the colors and materials in there. And not just 55, 57s, but a lot of the other Thunderbirds right after that, had some very, very advanced interiors. And I think this car is so important a vehicle in the Ford lineup. The interior just has to be a smash. You have to open the door and want to get in and not get out. It has to be ergonomic, all those things that we all know about, functional and everything else. But I want to see an interior in there that is truly exciting. And I don't want to see an interior in there, I think it was mentioned before, that looks like some other interior, whether it's a Mustang or a generic interior. There's such a wonderful heritage there on Thunderbird that can be captured real easy on the interior.
Are you looking for a retro look or?
No, not retro look. I think it can be very, very advanced. If I look at that interior, the shapes are there, but they don't excite me, and then the materials don't do anything for me. It's very, very bland and very... I hope I never see a grey interior again the rest of my life, you know, with a black top that you need for reflection, but it just needs to be more exciting.
Exciting, okay, someone else, Ted?
Yeah, in terms of the interior buck, I was surprised when I opened the door and trying to compare it to a 55 to 57, because to me, that vintage vehicle had a bench seat in it, and it was not always two people, it was three people or three people and a dog. It was a much more usable space. This obviously follows the cockpit styling with the console down the middle. And my impression was I could have been in any vehicle when I got into it. It didn't make a statement that it was a Thunderbird or not a Thunderbird. It didn't make a statement.
Okay, again, the buck though, just as a comment, is not really a fully styled. The pictures are a better representation of what the interior will look like, just as a reminder. Someone else on the interior, please? Dottie?
I didn't think it was distinctive at all. I agree with my colleagues here that it's just any vehicle. And I think on Thunderbird it does need to be distinctive. I would like to see the brushed aluminum on the inside of on the dash and whatever to pick up the original.
One of the photos does have the alternative with the aluminum brushed on there. That's the one there. Maybe you can't. Maybe it's not coming through in the photo.
No.
Just between the two-tone paint, that wide strip right there. Yeah, thanks, Gene. Is actually a brushed type aluminum.
I also agree with Bill. I think you need to have the round analog gauges. I don't like the dash, where the gauges are. It looks like any car. Doesn't look like a Thunderbird.
Okay. Someone else on the interior? Roger?
I think there absolutely shouldn't be a gray or anything gray in it. If you got to use a base color to work from, it should be a rich-looking tan or saddle color. The gray just doesn't, it's dead. It just doesn't do anything for you, and no matter what you put with it, it doesn't do anything for you.
What kind of colors do you think that we should offer on interior and exterior on this car?
Well, I realize there's cost issues in all of this, so that's why I say if you have a base of like the tan or saddle, how I see that you've taken the seats in the lower part of the dash and the door panels and put colors on there, that you could do that with like having colors that coordinate with the exteriors. And I noticed at the auto show this year, and I don't know which car it was one of the Europeans, had done something like that on, I don't know whether it was BMW, who it was, but they had like dark burgundy seats in the car and lower panels of the door panel, but the rest of the interior was kind of a dark tan or brown.
Okay. Yes, Don?
On the interior, the cluster didn't bother me. I think what was overwhelming and what my eye was drawn to first was I'll call it corporate center stack. With the corporate radio and the corporate control head. Your eye goes right to it when you get in the car and you see this center stack of all these buttons. And again, when this car sits in the showroom and people go from vehicle to vehicle, and I know again there are cost issues and this may not be feasible within the cost constraints, what you pick up on that is this looks like the other cars. There's nothing distinctive about it. That's what I remembered when I got in the buck. That's the first thing my eye went to, center stack.
Okay. Gene, what do you think of the interior?
When I got in, my impression was a bit similar to the others in that it was, to me, it lacked distinction and it really didn't say Thunderbird. And I think there needs to be something in there that brings it out. I like the option that you talked about and showed here in the picture, but I think the trim, it needs to be even more pronounced than that, though. Maybe it's the picture, but it doesn't really come out at you. And I was also concerned about the console. And it's not as much in my mind, the instruments or anything, but it just kind of sits there. It doesn't really, the console in all of the Thunderbirds, not just the early ones, was always distinctive, and I thought really, and I don't know, they do it with various trims and things like that, but I think that console needs to come out. I think with just some minor touches that bring it out, you could give it that exciting look. Right now it isn't exciting.
Okay. Anyone else on it? Ted?
Another observation, the 55 to 57s, I think were also distinctive in that they were loaded with many features on the inside, power windows, seats, everything at a time when most vehicles didn't have that. And it would seem to me on the interior, if there's one item, a new feature that Ford can introduce on the Thunderbird when it comes out, that would be a benefit.
Okay. Yes, Roger?
Maybe that this whole area in here that's on the console that Gene was talking about could somehow be made to look like brushed aluminum, maybe even if it's plastic or something. That would certainly make it look different than all the others all the other Ford products, even though the style looks the same, it just would stand out different.
Any comments between the two different colors? One of them has red in it, and the other is silver. Do you like the car that's, if you would, pushing more toward a little more radical with the red, or would you like to even have different color combinations? I mean, get into pastels or some of the more far out combinations on the interior. Any comments relative to that?
Well,
John?
I think in general, Ford does a very poor job.
If you could,
I think in general, Ford does a very poor job on interiors as far as colors and matching colors. And I think that this type of idea of having the reds and so forth is much better and will drive a lot more people to be interested. So I think that rather than the grays and the browns and so forth, you ought to be able to color match the interior with the exterior, similar to the.
Yeah, that would be the plan, that if it was a red exterior, it would match the red like
And
that.
I think that, yeah, I think that's a much better way to do it. I don't know anybody who doesn't complain about the lack of choice of colors and the combinations of interior and exterior colors and so forth in general, and you don't want to carry that over into this, and if you can help it.
No, I agree with that wholeheartedly. Colors of interiors, again, is critical. Exterior colors and interior colors can make or break that car. That's why I'm worried about black on this car. I think it will just do not a lot of good to the car. But on the interior colors, if you look at the colors that we used in the mid-50s, they were so garish, you wouldn't dare use them today. However, they really were eye-catchers. They were really wow colors. And, you know, we've heard for years about the dull interior color selection of grays and dark blues and dark reds. I'm pleased to see a brighter red on this, and I think it would certainly help. My concern is the total lack of exciting materials on that interior. It's very, very bland. Everything's black. There's hardly any bright there that I could remember. Whether there should be wood on that steering wheel like a Jaguar, I don't know. We're talking about an American car here, so maybe not. But the old Thunderbirds, they were colored with the color of the interior and the exterior. Whether it was a white exterior, you had a white steering wheel and a white IP. You can never do that now because of the windshield reflection. But when you look at that and then look at dark gray or dark interiors, it really is noticeable.
Okay. Bob, what do you think of interior and color?
Well, I like the idea of color keying the lower half.
If you could just turn the mic towards you. Thank
I
you.
like the idea of color keying the lower half of the dash to the exterior color. And then if some accent work could be done with bright metal accents around highlighting the dash and the center console would be good. It needs to be livened up.
Okay. Any other comments on the interior? Yes.